Center stage there.
Well, good evening. My name is Dick Hathaway. I'm currently serving as president of the Swedenborg Foundation, and it's my pleasure on the behalf of the board and the staff to welcome you to our 168th annual meeting. We have what we hope is a fast-paced program for you this evening. We're going to have a little bit of business interspersed with some entertainment, we're hoping. Part of our culture has been to start out the evening with an invocation, and we're asking Corey Bradford Watts, who was a seminarian at the Swedenborg House of Studies, recently passed his ordination and is now out on the job market, to give us the invocation this evening. Corey?
Yes, I hope to be ordained this summer. Although I didn't realize I was expected to be entertaining, so I'm going to try to sing this, maybe? No. Today we gather to celebrate our shared connection with and support of this inspirational foundation, celebrating the start of its 169th year uplifting Swedenborg's life, teachings, and impact. We give thanks for the tremendous growth that we've seen, the positive effects God's fostered through us, hopefully, our deep and diverse community, and the divine inspiration in its many guises that guides each of us, hopefully, more and more. Like us, Emanuel Swedenborg had his growing edges. And like us, he had vast privileges in the wake of slavery, trauma, and unending hardship around him. As we continue to grow individually and collectively, I believe that like him, we should strive to uplift those around us in multifarious ways with those privileges, striving to be more aware of what others' needs are and how we may be able to help. We should strive to use our various privileges to uplift each other in social justice, outreach, education, health, community, and joy, essentially all the ways that we feel the goddess working in our lives, the one God working in our everyday. To truly strive to uplift Swedenborg's ideas, I believe we must also strive to uplift what he considered to be his mission and God's, to promote an ever-expanding, loving community of diverse beings with diverse backgrounds, with diverse forms of spirituality and modes of living. Much like in Swedenborg's vision of heaven, this means uplifting a diversity of viewpoints, in my view. It means meeting people where they are and helping them in their walk with goodness, with divinity, and doing that in ways that speak to them, as I believe this foundation does quite wonderfully. The pluralism of Swedenborg's viewpoint enables us to sometimes not mention his or even Jesus's name, as it were, and still spread the work that they are about, and still spread the Divine One's love and wisdom with the Divine One's help. Swedenborg believed that following the Lord's name means uplifting his qualities, and often the best way to do that is with simple connection and encouragement of the diversity and health of her garden, from the material plane even to the heavenly. And this takes discernment, patience, transformation, openness, and love. In other words, it requires us to continue to open ourselves to the one divine humanity, the one God, the Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Corey. Now we have one second piece of business that needs to be taken care of, and that is to appoint tellers and to receive a report from the tellers. And we have appointed Sony Werner and Bergen Young as the tellers. Do you have a report, Bergen? Well, with 148 proxy signatures and with you in the room, a quorum is declared as a result of either having 100 people in a present or their proxies, or 10% of the membership, whichever is less. Since we have over 140 proxies, that means that you have gathered here for a good reason. That means that we have a quorum. Thank you for the quorum. The next part of the program is some of the pleasure part, and for that we're going to turn to our Executive Director, Morgan Baird, who is going to lead us through some of the inspirational, uplifting things that have happened at this foundation this last year. Morgan?
All right, thank you all very much. So what I want to do here is just give you a little bit of a context for what you're about to see coming up. So what do we do at the Swedenborg Foundation? Our mission is to promote engagement with the works of Emanuel Swedenborg and the ideas of Emanuel Swedenborg. And the way we do that is through content production. So when I say content production, I mean, first of all, translating Swedenborg's writings, making sure that they continue to be available. We publish books based on his thought by contemporary people. We have a website with a blog where we have more of an active and dynamic engagement. We have social media sites where we have his thought going out to hundreds of thousands of people around the world and have them send us comments, send us questions. We have a website that served to educate about 235,000 people last year. And all of that, I think, the capstone of it really is the offTheLeftEye YouTube channel, which is probably the reason that at least some of you in the audience are sitting here tonight. So this is where we came from. So in 2013, we decided as an organization to engage or to embark on a new strategic direction. And to kind of take ourselves out of the print world and into the digital world. And at that point, offTheLeftEye, which had been established a couple years before that, was still pretty small. It was still a little sprout. And within the space of just a few years, we grew to the point where we have 2.8 million views a year, 32.6 million minutes watched last year. So this growth was amazing, even to us. You know, even as we saw the response and we saw the outpouring, we were just blown away by the way people were responding to it. And so over the past few years, offTheLeftEye has really become the core of what we do. It's become kind of our primary means of reaching out and helping people engage with Swedenborg's works. However, the work of offTheLeftEye is really informed by the other things that we do and helps to inform other things that we do. So we do, as mentioned before, translations of the works of Emanuel Swedenborg, which is content that is absolutely crucial to the production of offTheLeftEye, producing new insights, producing new language, and new ways in which people can think about it. We do books that are, again, that are sometimes informed by offTheLeftEye and sometimes inform offTheLeftEye. So there's that cross current of ideas. We have blog posts that do the same thing, where we have that exchange of ideas and content. And we also, I want to mention, especially, I think this will be meaningful for some people in the room at least, a lady named Jane Williams Hogan, who was a really vital part of our organization for many, many years. Last year organized a conference on Swedenborg and the arts, and which was very successful, drew scholars from all over the world, drew attendees from all over the world to really foster an exchange of idea about Swedenborg's influence on the arts. So we were very sad to lose her earlier this year after an extended struggle with cancer. But that type of content also has always been part of the backbone of what we do. So I want to walk you just a little bit. We don't want to do too much on numbers here. So I'm supposed to be entertaining. So we'll try to speed through this part. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the finances of it. So let me just walk you through what you're seeing up here. So the very top row here in 2013 was when we launched our new online ventures, and we purposely invested more than we would normally spend in a given year to launch this and give it a good start. And then over the next couple years, we had to dial things back a little bit so that we could bring our spending back to more sustainable levels. But then you'll see in these bottom two rows, in the past couple years, we've really been able to expand our spending again. And that is because of you here in the audience, because of just a host of wonderful donors who have given a lot of energy to, in many ways, to support what we've been doing. So I want to, if you take nothing else away from this, please take away the fact that the donations, the energy, the good wishes, all of that has made a tremendous difference for us. So I want to tell you a story composed of some very brief parts. A man in a jewelry store who is about to buy a watch, a pretty expensive watch, says to himself, wait, what else could I be doing with this money that would be better? A man who is getting ready to sell his house says, what can I do with this money that would make a difference? A man in Canada facing an end-of-life scenario, thinks about what's my legacy in the world? How can I, being somebody who cares about the writings of Swedenborg, how can I help people, how can I help preserve that legacy? How can I help carry it on? All of these people are examples of people who have given to help support our mission. And I want to call them out, especially the last person I mentioned. His name is Peter Dowden, who gave us a substantial amount of money on behalf of himself and his sister, Gloria Dowden-Cooney. These people are really the lifeblood of the organization, and to help support these fundraising efforts, we actually hired a new director of development, Tim Bilger, last year. If you have not met him, I hope that you will all go and meet him. He's a wonderful person. And I want to also mention two other names. We don't often mention names, but I want to mention the names of a couple and an organization without whom we truly, truly could not have done everything that we did. And the organization is the Works Foundation, and the couple is Dick and Sally Berkman, who have just been wonderful supporters of ours over the years. So I know modesty is a great Swedenborgian trait, but I do want to make sure that we thank both of them for everything that they've done. So with that last thank you, I'm going to turn the program over to some people who are going to talk more specifically about what we did in the last year. And the first person to do that is going to be Jonathan Rose, who is the series editor of the New Century edition.
Thank you. So as Morgan mentioned, the Swedenborg Foundation's flagship publishing enterprise is the New Century edition of the Theological Works of Emanuel Swedenborg. And since that's rather a mouthful, we often abbreviate it as the NCE. And this is a fresh set of English translations of Swedenborg's works designed especially to meet the needs of readers who are new to this material. And it is, as Morgan said, fundamental to everything the Swedenborg Foundation does to have these works in accessible, readable form. So how do we produce these things? Well, there are millions of details involved in producing a volume of the NCE, but they can be broken down into 4 grand categories: translating, editing, annotating, and production. Translating is the easy part. It is simply a matter of comprehending Swedenborg's Latin texts and finding English words and phrases to convey them. Editing is more challenging. It's a matter of polishing those words according to standards that have been set for the series as a whole. Annotating is researching and writing notes to help readers better understand the text and find out where they can learn more. And production is the typesetting, proofreading, and checking that go on as the volume is finalized and issued, whether in digital or physical or even audio form. Although these functions are all related to each other and become interwoven in the final product, we have developed ways of doing each function independently, and we've created teams to work on each function, although there's some overlap between personnel in these teams. So this is a good way to talk about our progress. Where are we in our progress? We can look at it in terms of these 4 activities. Let's take them in reverse order. In terms of production, we now have 5 volumes available in audio format, 7 volumes in deluxe paperbacks, 8 volumes in deluxe hardcovers, 12 volumes in portable paperbacks, and 14 volumes in ebooks. And what I mean by deluxe volumes are the ones that have introductions and endnotes. The portable volumes do not, and that's what makes them a little more portable. Turning next to our progress in editing and annotating, in 2017 alone, we worked on all remaining volumes, all 18 remaining volumes in the series, and we worked on several of them intensively. And perhaps most exciting to me is our progress in translating. As we set out, there were 26 volumes all told that we were intending to translate. Of these, 25 and a half represented the 1/2 that we haven't done yet, is that little bit down at the end there. We've translated fully 25 and a half of these volumes. So we're making progress on all fronts. Yay! And we're coming down the home stretch in regard to translation. The big news in the NCE world, though, is the recent release of our latest volume, The Shorter Works of 1758. I want to tell you a little bit about this. This collection includes 4 titles: New Jerusalem, Last Judgment, White Horse, and Other Planets, which was traditionally referred to as Earths in the Universe. And I want to give you a brief summary of some of the features of this deluxe volume. It has a fascinating introduction by Richard Smoley, who's a scholar with 9 popular religion and spirituality books to his credit. He lucidly sets these 4 works in their context of the history of thought. To give just 2 examples, he shows how Last Judgment is Swedenborg's response to centuries of speculation about the end time, and how Other Planets makes Swedenborg's voice heard in the boisterous Enlightenment debate about the existence and meaning of life on other planets. Another feature of this volume is clear and accurate and complete translations of these 4 essential works. And I say complete because these include material that's often been omitted from previous translations, the cross-references to Secrets of Heaven, or the Arcana, which summarize Swedenborg's teachings in new and interesting ways. The volume also contains over 100 pages of annotations contributed by 14 scholars. These provide helpful and sometimes crucial background information for understanding the main text. It also has an essay by the editors detailing new research about the order in which Swedenborg's works of 1758 were composed and how and why that sequence differs from the order in which Swedenborg himself commonly presented them. It's interesting. He wrote them in one order, but he says, no, read them in a different order. And we speculate about why. And the volume concludes, friends, with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 indexes that provide abundant means for serious readers to explore the text. Their 90 pages include tables of scripture references, as well as the most thorough translation index and the most complete table of parallels to other works by Swedenborg ever published. We'll be hearing more about the shorter works of 1758 in the Swedenborg and Life live show to be broadcast right here a little later this very evening. In the past little while, we also released a portable or translation-only version of Other Planets. And we will soon see, in about a month, the portable Last Judgment. The latter title will be printed accompanied by its sequel, which we call Supplements, traditionally titled Continuation Concerning the Last Judgment, which is in itself a dual work made up of a supplement on the Last Judgment and a supplement on the spiritual world. In other words, a supplement to heaven and hell, which frankly, when we began, we didn't even know existed. Who knew there was a supplement to heaven and hell? Next up after that, there will be the shorter works of 1763, which are even shorter, as it turns out, than the shorter works of 1758, and further volumes of Secrets of Heaven. As for sales and downloads, in 2017 we sold 4,632 copies of NCE volumes, whether in physical or ebook form, which is up 3% over last year's figure of 4,490. And on top of that, 17,237 volumes were downloaded for free from our website. An even higher number was downloaded in the previous year thanks to an ad that went viral. And this has brought the total free downloads of NCE volumes from project inception through December 31st, 2017 to just over 239,000. And now to explain what we're doing to let the world know about all this, it's my pleasure to introduce our digital media producer, Curtis Childs.
Hey everybody, so my name's Curtis. I'm the digital media producer for Swedenborg Foundation. So it's my job to take all the material coming from all facets of our really talented team, try to put it together into a form that is going to inspire and connect with people around the world. And it's been a really good year for that kind of stuff. And I just want to take you briefly through a few of the statistics that I feel like are indicators of the difference we're making in people's lives. So we talked a little bit about offTheLeftEye YouTube channel, which is primarily the area that I've been working with my team on, and we talked a little bit about minutes watched. So let's go to the next one. You heard that we have mid-30s million minutes watched over the last 365 days. A minute watched, does that make sense? That somebody has sat at their computer for a whole minute without clicking away. So that represents human attention for that long. That 35 million minutes watched is up 7.44% from the previous 365-day period. So it's a pretty significant jump. You're talking about many million minutes. I will say that number is skewed because this year, 2018, the calendar year, is like so much better than the year just before it. The last 4 months, we've set our top 3 months of all time in minutes watched. This month, which is, we're still in April, I think, April, we're on track for like 4.5 million minutes watched just in the month, which our previous record holder was January at 3.6. So this is a lot of good stuff happening, and those numbers represent a lot of impact. For what it's worth, last year we had 67.5 years worth of content watch time. Average watch time went up too. It's not like we're getting shallower and bigger. It's not like we've taken our depth of engagement. Let's just reach as many people as we can and we'll sacrifice quality of engagement. Actually, the last 365 days compared to the previous period, our average watch time went up 23%. So there's more watch happening, and it's happening in deeper sessions as well. Okay, next. Also, we have a pretty diverse group of people watching. Just in the past 365 days, we've had people from over 50 countries tune in. Our total subscriber base is at 61,500. So these are people who are not just watching, but have decided, I'm going to subscribe and I'm going to get updates about your next couple of things. And this chart, you can't read what that is, can you? But you can see the bars, right? This is our demographics by age and gender. So male is turquoise, female is green. I want to show you how even that split is there. These bands here are age groups. So that little one on the top is 13 to 17-year-olds. They shouldn't have access to a computer anyway. And then this one here, this big one, that's 65 plus. So there is an amazing span of people. It's not like we're just doing something for millennials. I know everyone's trying to go after them, but we're doing something that you really can't predict who's going to end up liking the thing. So I find that quite inspiring and wanted to share it with you. And that's cool because you never know who the next person you're going to intrigue is. Okay? And, oh, man, did any of you... have any of you seen any of our shots of our studio or anything? We are, and this, I think it's no accident that we're seeing this surge in growth right alongside our surge in investment in the tools by which we grow. That sentence was okay as it came out. We've upgraded our studio. You know, if you came and saw where we were broadcasting from in the previous year, we were reaching, we had this 25, 30 million minutes watched, but we were doing it out of a room that is like the size of this stage if you squared it. And it was just like a green cloth hung up in the background. We had nice lights and cameras, but we've expanded. Now we have this big studio. We've also upgraded the team that's working on it. We've upgraded our systems for scheduling. We've upgraded our systems for writing and content. And all of this is to overcome barriers, because some people are going to tune in and say, well, you know, if your show doesn't look top-notch, there's no way your thought matches that. But also to be able to reach more people and look at crafting messages, and how do you not just throw ideas at someone, but how do you make an impact, and how do you change lives, and how do you create people that are then diving into the ideas and the theology and the worldview for themselves. So we've done a lot of upgrades, and they've all been based on, as Morgan was pointing out, the generous gifts of people like you. So we thank you so much for doing that. We've been getting out and meeting people. We're not always hunkered in our studio. We had staff members that were invited to speak in London this past year, as well as in Austin, Texas. And there was a conference in London called the Conference for Consciousness and Human Evolution, then one in Texas called the Wisdom of the Near-Death Experience. So hitting different areas of spirituality, but we were recruited by them. The organizer of this conference was a fan of the program, who then was able to get us in there, along with, in both of these conferences, there's very big names at them, all these New York Times bestselling authors, but the people said, we want Swedenborg in that conversation because we think that his thought adds to it. So we've been doing that, and then the last slide I have for you is pretty complex. The numbers, none of that means anything. I think I say this you could go back and watch tapes of other annual meetings. I say this same thing every year because it works pretty good. The numbers don't mean anything if they don't represent change of life. If we had 35 million minutes last year of people who watched it and didn't really like it. That doesn't mean anything. It's got to be, and I would say even if it was people who watched it and thought, okay, that's not really what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is really change lives. So I'm going to read you, and I don't know if this is laziness or good practice, but what I do is I'll read you some comments that we've gotten, and these are very recent. We have a whole cache of comments from the past 365 days. I didn't go deeply into those because I wanted to show the consistency with which we're getting this kind of input. So these are just 4 that we got very recently from people online, see our program, and then reach out to us. And they said, the first one is, as always, very insightful show. Thanks again, offTheLeftEye team, for all the time you spend each week educating us on what I consider the most important news on the planet. Though it's not, we're not in the game to give you something that barely matters to you. That somebody's saying, this is the thing I want to spread around the world, means something. 29 minutes in, this is the next one. 29 minutes in, and it's already addressed things I've wondered my whole life. So it's a half hour. Those minutes watched, those 29 minutes, meant a lifetime's worth to this person. Next one. So I have Asperger's, and I just wanted to say that the book Married Love was crucial in me figuring out how to connect with other people. Thanks for everything. And then finally, I lost my son due to sudden death and epilepsy. He was 21 years old, and as you can imagine, I am in tremendous pain. Watching your webcast and reading Swedenborg's books have been the only things I find some hope in. Amazingly, all of his writings and of his experiences align with my beliefs. So I want to say thanks to all of you for making this possible. And last year was great, but let's blow it out of the water this year. Right? So good. All right, and I'm going to turn it back over to Morgan.
So sometimes at the end of Swedenborg in Life, they'll do a wrap-up of what we learned during the show. And I said, Curtis, can I try that? He said, okay, just this once, though. All right, so I'm gonna give it a shot this time. So what did we learn today? We learned that the short works of 1758, 4 indexes. I know you're all excited about that. We learned that offTheLeftEye, fantastic news studio, serious quality upgrades to the content, but also making a huge difference in people's lives. And having read a lot of the comments on there, I can tell you those 4, there are some even more amazing things that happen there. And you can, if you are so inclined, go on our YouTube channel and read comments under videos anytime if you want to see the impact that some of these are having. coming up the next year, what we've got coming up, again, blowing it out of the water with Off the Left Eye, continuing to increase the number of people who are watching, the minutes watched, but also improving the quality so we can continue to change lives and we can continue to impact people. On the NCE front, we're not only producing a lot more works, but we're constantly working on streamlining the process so that we can help to bring you more of Swedenborg's writings faster and better, without in any way sacrificing the quality. We're going to have more on social media, more on our website. We're going to have some exciting new books coming out. We have one coming out very, very soon on science and religion from George Dole, who is just an amazing read, if you ever get a chance to read him. We're going to do, and also books on spirituality coming out in the next year. And we are so much looking forward to sharing all of these journeys with you. So thank you so much for coming out and watching. And thank you at home who may be watching during the live stream. I know we've probably got all the hordes watching our business meeting, which is fantastic. So we do have a little more business we have to do since this is our annual meeting. And I'm going to hand off now to Dick Hathaway, who is going to finish up with a couple of things.
Well, that clapping is not for me getting back up here at the podium. It really is for Morgan and all that they have done this past year, and certainly being entertained by Curtis and Jonathan has got to be a highlight for a Friday night. So thank you, Curtis and Jonathan. We do have a couple of items of business that need to be taken care of. One is we'd like to recognize those past members of the foundation, life members who have passed away. And I will ask for a moment of silence in that. Karen Pitcairn Cole, Mark Owen Elder, Beth Sinisvet Johns, and Jane Williams Hogan. May we have a moment of silence for these four members. Thank you. Another little bit of business is approving the minutes of the 2017 annual meeting. They were there, they have been there on your chairs. And since this is an official meeting, it would be a good idea to have the minutes of the previous meeting approved. So I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the 2017 annual meeting of the corporation. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? This is going to be interactive now. Are you all ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Good job. Thank you. The next piece of business that we need to do is to elect the board of directors for the class of 2022, and I'll ask Jim Lawrence, chair of the nominating committee, to present the slate.
Good evening to everybody. We processed a slate of nominees from the nominating committee, which was comprised of me, Richard Smoley, and Kay Lermet, which was presented to the board of directors and approved there. The slate we present to the floor tonight. I would like to recognize them. We'll start with the ABCs of our board, Amato, Baxter, and Conant. Colin Amato is one of our nominees. Why don't you stand up, Colin? And Kevin Baxter is another nominee. He's in the room somewhere. Hey, there he is. Hello, Kevin. Larry Conant. And Stuart Shotwell, who is probably watching the streamed version here, but not physically present. This is the net slate we present to the membership.
Thank you, Jim. in terms of the bylaws of the foundation, that once the nominating committee has made its report and the request has gone out then to you, the membership, in order to nominate another director, nominations have to be received at the foundation office within the past 30 days. Morgan, have there been any other nominations submitted? Hearing that then, first of all, I'd like to get a report of a receipt of the report of the nominating committee. If we could have a motion then to receive the report of the nominating committee. And a second. And another interactive part. You get to say, yay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Since there are no other nominees then, we would ask the secretary to cast one ballot for the ballot as presented. So done. Thank you, Sony. And Sony is taking the place of Pete Toot, or assisting Pete Toot. Pete is the secretary in sitting, but he is not able to be here this evening. Is there any new business to come before the foundation annual meeting? Hearing and seeing none, I would like to conclude by repeating what Curtis and Jonathan and Morgan have all said, and that is a thank you to all of you folks who have made what we've done this last year possible. The foundation is reaching out to Bryn Athyn College, reaching out as a result of the conference that Jane Williams Hogan organized. So we're not kind of sitting on our laurels anymore, but rather continuing to move forward. And as Morgan said again, that we're looking forward to 2018. And again, with your help, we will be able to do some more wondrous things and include and make that daisy sprout grow even greater. So thank you all for being here, and we're going to stay tuned. In approximately 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we're going to be live again. So thank you.